Welcome to another episode of Legacy of a Soap Star.
Today we are taking a deep dive into an actress whose career is really defined not by staying in one place, but by this extraordinary ability to pivot. I mean, we're talking about an actress whose star power was so undeniable that she successfully anchored two massive rival network dramas.
We are talking about the truly unique and versatile Linda Dano.
Exactly.
And it's such a fascinating case. Linda Dano managed a professional feat that, few, if any, daytime stars have ever really achieved. She created one character, the absolutely glamorous, larger-than-life romance novelist Felicia Gallant on Another World.
A total icon.
And then, without missing a single beat, pivoted almost instantly to define a second, completely different character, the sharp, complicated psychologist Ray Cummings on One Life to Live.
And that's our mission today. We want to unpack that, frankly, dizzying career timeline. We're going to analyze exactly how she took control of and evolved these two iconic personas, and we'll really explore the massive influence she had.
And not just on the creative side, right?
Yeah, not at all. We're talking structurally, commercially, and even entrepreneurially. She built a brand beyond the fictional worlds of Bay City and Landview. We're really looking at a career that's a template for the modern multi-hyphenate star.
Okay, let's get into it. Let's unpack this dual legacy and start right at the foundation. Linda Ray Wildermuth's early career before she became the daytime powerhouse we know.
So Linda Dano was born Linda Ray Wildermuth in Long Beach, California on May 12, 1943. And while we all know her for those sustained long-form soap opera characters, her professional beginnings were actually steeped in the really intense, fast-paced world of 1960s and 70s Hollywood.
Which makes sense. That kind of training ground is key to understanding her versatility later on. She spent the late 1960s and early 70s really cutting her teeth in the film industry.
Right, often in minor roles, sometimes uncredited, but she was getting that essential exposure on major sets.
What kind of films are we talking about?
Well, if you look at her early filmography, you'll see her in Tony Rome in 1967.
The Frank Sinatra movie.
The Sinatra vehicle, exactly. Then Star in 68, which is that huge musical biopic. And maybe most impressively for the era, Hello, Dolly, in 1969. These were massive studio productions, and they gave her crucial experience in a really demanding environment.
But the real professional grinder, from what I understand, was her primetime contract.
Oh, absolutely. She signed with 20th Century Fox, which essentially locked her into a system where she had to be ready for anything instantly.
And that contract put her on sets with some future legends.
It did. She was working alongside the next generation of TV stars, including a very young Tom Selleck, who was also a contract player at the time.
And her list of guest appearances from that era is just staggering.
It's an incredible list. I mean, it really speaks to the sheer volume of work a contract actor had to do. She was everywhere.
So you see her popping up in all the major police and action dramas that were dominating the airwaves.
Everything. Ironside, Policewoman, Harry O., Petrocelli, Starsky, and Hutch. She navigated the glamour of Charlie's Angels and the action of Chip P.S., and then still managed to land in the sitcom world with Barney Miller.
That kind of constant, quick turnaround acting, it demands a very specific set of skills. You have to be versatile, you have to memorize dialogue incredibly quickly, and just jump into a new role without any hesitation.
And there's a fascinating piece of data that really illustrates how adaptable she was. She appeared on The Rockford Files, a total classic, but she appeared in 3 entirely different roles on that show alone.
Wow.
That's not just versatility. That's proof that casting directors saw her as this reliable, chameleonic talent who could just slot into different narratives even within the same show's universe.
And she even took a shot at a regular series role around that time, didn't she?
She did. In 1975, she starred in a short-lived NBC comedy called The Montefuscos.
I don't think I've heard of that one.
Well, that was a tough break. It was meant to be a flagship series for the network, but it was unfortunately canceled after only 3 broadcasts. They only ever showed 7 episodes in total.
Ouch.
But that kind of failure, it likely reinforced the need for some stability, or at least a different kind of challenge that Hollywood wasn't offering her. The sustained long-form character development of daytime is probably looking pretty good right then.
So she made the pivot. She left Hollywood, moved to New York City, and stepped into the world of One Life to Live in 1978.
And this marks her first tenure as the character Ray Cummings.
Her first run.
Her first run, which lasted from 1978 to 1980. And this is where we see Linda Dano asserting herself creatively right out of the gate, which really sets a precedent for her career.
How so?
The character's original name was actually Gretel Cummings.
Gretel Cummings. Wow, that sounds a little less formidable.
Precisely. That's exactly what Dano thought. She felt that Gretel sounded less glamorous, less commanding, maybe too juvenile for the sophisticated professional she envisioned.
So she pushed back.
She did. And the sources say they reached a compromise where the character would primarily use her middle name, Ray. That shift from Gretel to the sharp, definitive Ray was Dano's first real contribution to defining this persona.
And the character profile they built for Ray Cummings was certainly multifaceted. I mean, she wasn't just in one professional lane in Landview, was she?
Not at all. She was a true intellectual utility player. Rongan was highly professional, yet she was constantly shifting focus, which is common in soaps, but was particularly exaggerated with her.
What kind of jobs did she have?
She cycled through being a psychologist, a newspaper columnist, a radio talk show host, a professor at Landview University, a profiler for the police department,
A profile?
a profiler for the Landview PD, and even a marriage counselor. She represented the sharp, modern professional woman who could command any room she walked into.
But the core dynamic of that first run rested on this critical, soap-perfect revelation that exposed her, well, her duplicity.
Absolutely. The tension came from the fact that Ray was, in fact, living a complete lie. The bombshell revealed that Gretel, or Ray, had stolen the professional credentials of a man who was also named Ray Cummings.
No way.
Yes. So all those years she spent professionally counseling people and profiling for the police, she was actually practicing psychology without a valid license.
That detail is fascinating. It immediately establishes that, despite her professional competence, she has this deep, innate layer of deception and ambition driving her. It gives the character a moral ambiguity that would pay off big time later on.
It creates a foundational tension, you're right. She had the ability to do the job. She was certainly intelligent and capable, but she lacked the legitimate right. It means everything she achieved in Landview during that time was built on sand.
So when she left the show in 1980, the audience was left with this impression of a sharp, powerful woman who was also deeply flawed.
Exactly. Flawed and operating on the fringes of legitimacy.
She didn't immediately jump to another world after that, though. There was a brief stop somewhere else.
That's right. Dano spent 1981 to 1982 briefly playing Cynthia Haynes on As the World Turns. It was a short tenure, sort of a professional pause before the role that would truly cement her legacy and make her the face of network glamour.
And that takes us directly to Bay City.
The transition to another world was not just a career move, it was in many ways a rescue mission for the show itself. Linda Dano debuted as Felicia Gallant on January 6, 1983.
And she never looked back.
Never. She stayed with that soap for an incredible 16 years, right until its final episode on June 25, 1999.
And it's so important to understand the context of the show at that time. The sources describe Another World as ailing. It was struggling, and the executive producer, Paul Rauch, was looking for a catalyst, a star injection, to redefine the show's entire image.
And Rauch brought Dano on for a very specific, focused purpose: to inject an element of much-needed glamour and sophistication into the Bay City landscape. They needed a character who was aspirational, dramatic, and capable of leading front-burner storylines from day one.
And Felicia Gallant was that solution.
She was the perfect solution. And what's remarkable is that the creative team didn't just invent a glamorous character out of thin air. They modeled her after a real-life icon of flamboyance and literary success.
This is where the creative process gets really insightful.
It really does. The head writer, Robert Soderbergh, had personal knowledge of the famous and notoriously passionate romance novelist Jacqueline Susan.
The author of Valley of the Dolls.
Exactly. Susan was the template. Soderbergh spent extensive time discussing Susan's passion for life, her demanding personality, and her sheer star power with Linda Dano.
So Dano wasn't just playing a character. She was interpreting a specific known type of celebrity glamour. How did that model influence Felicia's persona?
Well, it allowed Felicia to operate on a completely different plane than most soap characters. She wasn't just wealthy, she was famous. She was a high-volume professional. Her main career was as a romance novelist for Corey Publishing.
So she embodied the spirit of this successful, unapologetically dramatic literary superstar.
Always ready for a new chapter, both professionally and personally. And she certainly monetized that persona, much like Dano herself would later do.
Right. Felicia expanded her portfolio immensely, leveraging her fame into other lucrative ventures.
She was a talk show host. She owned a restaurant, she ran a day spa, she was an innkeeper. She was the ultimate entrepreneurial socialite.
And we know, thanks to the sources, the sheer volume of her fictional literary output. She was a machine.
A verifiable machine. The sources note that Felicia published at least 53 books, primarily these dramatic Gothic romance titles.
The titles alone are perfect.
They capture the flavor of the characters so well. Gone with the Dawn, Lust in the Kremlin, and The Bride of Bombay. These are titles that just scream high drama, high stakes, and high glamour.
And this is where the meta aspect of Dano's involvement really blurred the lines for the audience, which was just genius.
It was ingenious marketing. Linda Dano co-wrote at least one novel, Dreamweaver, which was officially published under the character's name, Felicia Gallant.
So fans could actually go out and buy a book by Felicia Gallant.
Exactly. This move solidified the idea that Felicia was a real personality whose work existed outside the TV screen, granting the character this unprecedented degree of reality for the fans.
Let's dive into the core storylines. Because while Felicia projected total glamour, her narratives were often so gritty, complex, and emotionally demanding. The struggle with alcoholism, in particular, stands out as critically important.
It was a defining arc and a huge risk for such a glamorous character. But Dano's commitment to the material just elevated it from a typical soap addiction story to something deeply resonant. Dano, in Reflections years later, said it was an amazing storyline to play because it had a real beat to it. She focused relentlessly on the realism.
And that commitment paid off, not just with critical acclaim, but with real-world impact.
Substantially. The sources highlight that Dano received a significant flood of fan mail from people who were struggling with alcohol abuse themselves. They found her portrayal genuinely helpful, seeing their own battles reflected with honesty and vulnerability rather than just sensationalized drama. That storyline transformed her from merely a glamorous star into a relatable advocate for people struggling with serious issues.
And that immense work culminated in her defining professional recognition.
Absolutely. The alcoholism storyline was the backbone of her 1993 win for the Daytime Emmy Award for Outstanding Lead Actress in a Drama Series.
She was also nominated a few other times for the role.
She was.
Yeah.
Outstanding Supporting Actress in 92, and then further Lead Actress nominations in 94 and 96. The Emmys really confirmed that this glamour injection had real substance beneath the surface.
And beyond addiction, the writers also challenged Felicia's entire glamorous identity with the Fanny Grady revelation. This strikes right at the heart of her persona, which was built on this facade of aspiration.
It was a brilliant move by the writers. Felicia's glamorous identity, the one modeled after Jacqueline Susan, was fundamentally based on escaping her past. So when Lucas Castigliano, while searching for the daughter they had together, uncovered that Felicia was actually born Fanny Grady, it was the ultimate threat.
Why was the name change so deeply humiliating for her?
Because it exposed her tempestuous family background. Fanny Grady was associated with poverty, chaos, and messy origins. Felicia Gallant was built on wealth, refinement, and control.
So for a character who had spent decades meticulously crafting this respectable, wealthy reputation,
to have her humble, messy, and decidedly unglamorous roots exposed was a deep source of public embarrassment and internal crisis. It forced her to confront the distance between who she pretended to be and who she fundamentally was.
her love life was just as complicated as her parentage. 5 official marriages are listed, which illustrates the constant turmoil, even if she projected stability.
5 times down the aisle. Louis St. George, Zane Lindquist, Mitch Blake, Lucas Castigliano, and Sergei Radzinski. Her marriage to Mitch Blake in particular offered a really unique narrative approach for soaps in that era.
It ended in an amicable divorce, which is not the standard soap playbook at all.
No, not at all.
No.
Usually it's murder, amnesia, or a sudden dramatic betrayal. But the marriage to Mitch Blake ended in this amicable mutual divorce in 1990, specifically because both parties had committed infidelity.
So it wasn't a one-sided thing.
It was presented as a mature, mutual agreement to end the marriage without explosive hostility, recognizing that they had both contributed to its failure. It was a subtle but really progressive moment in daytime marital storytelling.
But the tragic heart of Felicia's romantic life was undoubtedly Lucas Castigliano.
Lucas was repeatedly cited in the sources as the true love of her life. They married, their connection was profound, but of course, this is a soap opera, so happiness is always fleeting. He was tragically shot by a jealous ex-lover and died in the hospital just weeks later. That quick, dramatic loss cemented Lucas as the great, unattainable love, the ghost in her romantic life that no subsequent man could ever really measure up to.
She also had these deeply complicated relationships with her children, her biological daughter, Lorna Devon, whom she initially believed was stillborn.
And her adoptive daughter, Jenna Norris.
The Lorna relationship was incredibly volatile at first, wasn't it?
Oh, unbelievably so.
Yeah.
Lorna was introduced as a classic nasty vixen. She and Felicia were adversaries, competing and clashing dramatically, which made their eventual mother-daughter reconciliation that much more earned and poignant. Jenna, the adoptive daughter, just added another layer of complexity.
And the feud between Lorna and Jenna resulted in one of the most infamously shocking, boundary-pushing moments in Another World history.
We have to talk about the spectacular act of sabotage during Felicia's talk show. The tension between the daughters came to a head when Lorna, with this calculated malice, replaced Jenna's boyfriend's music video, which was scheduled to air live, with an unauthorized, highly explicit, pornographic tape featuring Jenna.
Wait, on live television? On Felicia's show?
On live television.
Yeah.
That is next-level soap shock value.
Yay.
It's dramatic, it's public humiliation, and it's a total career killer for Jenna in that fictional world.
I can't even imagine.
It was sensational and perfectly timed. It used the public, media-centric nature of Felicia's career, the talk show, to maximize the humiliation and drama. It reminds the audience that even at its most glamorous, Another World never shied away from high-stakes, controversial storytelling.
And moving to her final arc on the show, it was a really poignant, pragmatic way to write her character off just before the show's cancellation.
Her final marriage in 1999 to Sergei Radzinski wasn't a passionate romance at all. It was a pragmatic marriage of convenience.
Why did they get married?
It was done to help Sergei, who was suffering from aplastic anemia, a condition they attributed to Chernobyl exposure, receive treatment, and critically remain in the United States. It gave Felicia this humane, almost philanthropic final purpose before the curtain closed on Bay City forever.
So Linda Dano had spent 16 years building this incredible, multifaceted character, winning an Emmy, and establishing herself as the face of glamour on NBC daytime. But that chapter ended very abruptly.
It did. The show aired its final episode on June 25, 1999. But the story of Linda Dano's daytime dominance was, believe it or not, far from over.
Okay, this is where the story gets really wild. This is where we see the sheer commercial value and drawing power of Linda Dano validated by the industry itself. Another World was canceled on a Friday, June 25th, 1999.
And Linda Dano was back on television on a rival network 3 days later. Monday, June 28, 1999, she resumed the role of Gretel Ray Cummings on One Life to Live.
3 days. That is an unprecedented speed of transition.
It demonstrates that ABC daytime president Angela Shapiro immediately recognized the star power they could acquire and deploy. There was no waiting period.
And she didn't just return to her old show for a quick storyline. She became the central structural component in a massive network-wide experiment that completely changed how ABC handled its daytime universe.
This is arguably the most important, and maybe least discussed, chapter of her legacy. Ray Cummings became the centerpiece of the first-ever 4-show daytime crossover storyline in 2000. This was a direct mandate from Angela Shapiro, whose explicit goal was to entice viewers to sample the entire ABC soap lineup.
Let's just elaborate on the structural complexity of that for a second. A 4-show crossover, One Life to Live, All My Children, General Hospital, and Port Charles, concurrently featuring the same character, had simply never been attempted before.
I mean, the logistical nightmare of this coordination cannot be overstated. You are talking about 4 separate production teams, often with conflicting schedules, 4 different sets of writers, and 4 executive producers who traditionally operate completely independently.
Just ensuring continuity must have been a Herculean task.
Continuity, tone, pacing. To do that across 4 shows over weeks required unprecedented cooperation and a massive writing team effort. And Dano, as the common denominator, had to maintain Ray's consistency across these distinct fictional universes, which often had very different stylistic approaches.
It put an enormous weight on her performance. She wasn't playing the glamorous novelist here. She was playing the structural adhesive that was meant to hold the entire ABC daytime universe together, at least for a while.
And the plot they came up with to justify this marathon appearance hinged on a highly personal, emotional quest. Ray's search for the child she had given up for adoption years earlier. This search was the engine that physically drove her from Landview to Pine Valley to Port Charles.
The search didn't just provide drama for Ray's child, though. It revealed deep-seated family secrets for Ray herself during the crossover.
Exactly. It wasn't enough to find her daughter. The writers had to cement her place in the ABC family structure. So during the crossover, Ray discovers that her own birth mother was none other than Myrtle Fargate of Pine Valley.
The beloved owner of Myrtle's Corner on All My Children.
The one and only. This meant Ray was now related to key characters in Pine Valley, instantly giving her deep roots in that fictional world.
And then, the ultimate reveal. Who was the daughter she was searching for all that time?
She found her daughter back in Landview. Skye Chandler. Now, Skye was already a character with a history on All My Children, who had recently moved to One Life to Live. So this reveal instantly complicated Skye's existing storylines.
But the family tree didn't stop there.
Not even close. Ray initially identified Skye's biological father as Alan Quartermain, a pivotal figure from General Hospital.
So Ray Cummings basically became the genealogical nexus of the entire ABC daytime universe.
That's a perfect way to put it. She provided the deep-seated blood ties between the core families of OLTL, AMC, and GH, forever linking the histories of the three major shows.
That is the ultimate takeaway of the crossover. It was so much more than a rating stunt.
It was a rewrite of daytime canon, and Linda Dano was the pen. She was the one who had to sell these massive, game-changing revelations. I mean, the sheer dramatic weight of discovering her mother, finding her daughter, and identifying father who belonged to a third soap opera, all within a matter of weeks. It required incredible emotional command.
And the structural implications of the storyline continued to ripple throughout the ABC landscape for years after.
They absolutely did. The most significant immediate ripple effect was that this storyline provided the perfect, organic reason for Skye Chandler to move to Port Charles permanently.
She went to General Hospital.
Skye relocated to General Hospital full-time in 2001, effectively uniting the ABC universe for years to come. Ray Cummings wasn't just a participant in the crossover. She was the literal catalyst for major long-term talent migration and narrative integration across the entire network.
And Dano continued her second, critically praised run as Ray Cummings from 1999 until March 13, 2004. Did this period of, structural importance and renewed drama also lead to more critical recognition for her?
It did. She was nominated for a Daytime Emmy for Outstanding Supporting Actress in a Drama Series in 2003 for her performance as Ray Cummings.
Which is really remarkable when you think about it.
It's incredible. She was nominated for lead actors for The Glamorous Felicia and supporting actress for The Complicated Professional Ray. A true testament to her ability to adapt her style to anchor major storylines across completely different production styles and expectations.
That difference in the two major roles really highlights the breadth of her contribution. Felicia was the creative archetype, a character modeled after a celebrity. Ray was the structural linchpin, a character designed to alter the network landscape. To command both roles so successfully is truly unique.
It speaks to her extraordinary commercial appeal and her professional flexibility. She was the star NBC chose to bring glamour, and the star ABC chose to bring cohesion.
What's perhaps most incredible about Linda Dano is that while she was busy playing the glamorous novelist and the structural linchpin of soap opera, she was simultaneously building this massive, successful second career that ran parallel to her daytime acting.
It's the definition of a multi-hyphenate career, and it successfully leveraged the fame and image she built as Felicia Gallant. Let's look first at the talk show era, which happened concurrently with her peak Another World years.
She co-hosted the Lifetime talk show Attitudes for 5 years, from 1986 to 1991. What was the tone of that show, and why did it work so well?
Attitudes was perfectly aligned with the aspirational glamour she embodied as Felicia. It focused on lifestyle, fashion, beauty, and accessible domesticity. It allowed her to transition the persona of the stylish novelist into the role of a trusted style authority who spoke directly to women in their homes.
And that immediate, unscripted connection with the audience was a powerful tool.
It was. And again, this wasn't just a side project for her. It was a critically recognized performance as a host.
She got an Emmy nod for it, right?
She did. Dano received a Daytime Emmy Award nomination for Outstanding Talk Show Host in 1989 for her work on Attitudes. This just confirmed that her skills translated seamlessly from dramatic acting to live conversational hosting.
And when a celebrity reaches a certain height of cultural saturation, they become material for parody.
Precisely. And she achieved that coveted pop culture status when she was notably and frequently impersonated by Nora Dunn on Saturday Night Live in the late 1980s.
That's when you know you've made it.
When SNL is mocking your specific brand of accessible sophistication, you know you have transcended your core audience and hit a cultural nerve across America.
Her entrepreneurial ventures are where she truly capitalized on the image she created in Bay City. Her success as a style authority became a major retail powerhouse.
This is a classic example of leveraging intellectual property, the Felicia Gallant persona, into genuine commercial enterprise. She began her massive business partnership with the home shopping channel QVC in 1993.
And this was not a short-term venture.
Nope, she maintained a long-running clothing and home furnishings line with QVC for over 20 years.
20 years! In the hyper-competitive world of retail and home shopping, that's just astonishing longevity. Why do you think her brand resonated so strongly with the QVC audience for such a sustained period?
I think she offered what you might call achievable glamour. The Felicia Gallant character was expensive and fabulous, but Dano, the host, brought that sensibility down to an affordable, accessible level. She understood her audience women who loved the drama and style of her character, but needed practical, well-priced items for their own lives.
She built a brand based on trust and practical advice.
Exactly, reinforcing her image as a helpful, stylish friend. And her expertise wasn't just demonstrated on air either. She became a nonfiction author, formalizing her style authority.
Right. She co-wrote 2 highly successful nonfiction style guides.
Looking Great in 1997, which focused on personal style and beauty tips, and then Living Great in 1998, which was all about affordable decorating ideas, capitalizing on the home furnishing side of her QVC business.
And she wasn't just celebrated by fans and viewers. The fashion industry itself recognized her profound influence on consumer trends.
In 1999, she won the Accessories Council Excellence Award for outstanding contributions to consumer awareness. This is a legitimate industry honor, confirming her status not just as an actress who endorses products, but as a genuine tastemaker and retail force entirely separate from her acting accolades.
Let's look at her post-2005 life. She eased away from the daily soap grind, but she still maintained a visible presence in television and film, often nodding to her daytime roots.
We see these brief, respectful returns to the genre. There was a short stint as Lena Kendall on Guiding Light in 2005, and then a deep cut that delighted longtime fans. In 2021, she stepped in as a temporary fill-in for the iconic and notoriously over-the-top role of Vivian Alamain on Days of Our Lives.
Which is a huge vote of confidence, trusting her to immediately inhabit a character famous for her dramatic eccentricities.
Absolutely, and she balanced that with primetime and film work. Guest roles on major primetime hits like Desperate Housewives in 2005 and What I Like About You in 2006, she also appeared in the compelling crime drama film Reservation Road in 2007.
And her later film career shows this clear meta-appreciation for her own history in daytime.
It does. Her appearances in Hallmark films, like Vines That Bind in 2019, paved the way for a highly meta and appropriate role in a little daytime drama in 2021, where she played the producer and creator of a long-running daytime series.
A role that perfectly reflected her historical status within the industry she helped define.
Exactly.
But perhaps the most enduring part of her personal legacy is her deeply motivated involvement in advocacy work.
This commitment is rooted in profound personal tragedy and resilience. Her advocacy work focuses specifically on critical medical conditions like depression and Alzheimer's disease.
And her motivation is painfully direct.
It is. She lost her father to Alzheimer's disease. Then, in 2004, she lost her beloved husband of 20 years, Frank Attardi, and tragically, her mother passed away just a week and a half later after showing signs of dementia.
That kind of compressed, intense grief is just devastating. To channel that pain into advocacy speaks volumes about her inner strength.
It truly does. She actively works with significant organizations like HeartShare, the National Osteoporosis Foundation, and the National Alzheimer's Association. She took her private suffering and transformed it into public action and support for others facing similar challenges.
And her philanthropic efforts have created a lasting legacy that exists completely separate from her acting credits.
Right. Her commitment is formally recognized every year. HeartShare Human Services of New York bestows an annual Linda Dano Award, confirming her lasting philanthropic impact in supporting human services and causes related to mental and physical health.
And finally, before we wrap, one final historical footnote that ties together her 2 major soap homes and demonstrates her enduring loyalty to the genre.
She actually hosted the Another World reunion special on SOAPN in 2003.
Bringing it all full circle.
And this role, hosting a reunion for the show that made her a superstar, earned her yet another professional accolade, a Daytime Emmy nomination for Outstanding Special Class Special in 2004. Even as a host, bringing her former castmates together, her excellence was recognized.
Linda Dano's career is truly a masterclass in professional pivoting and enduring relevance. I mean, she didn't just survive the cancellation of a major soap, she leveraged that transition to become the linchpin for a rival network, all while simultaneously building a massive, profitable career as a glamorous host retail entrepreneur, and compassionate author.
She truly solidified her status by mastering two completely different types of character requirements: the creative archetype of the glamorous, fictional celebrity and the structural necessity of the crossover queen.
So if we look at her full career, what is the ultimate significance of those two divergent paths?
Well, you have to consider the unique duality of the challenge she undertook. On one hand, you have Felicia Gallant, an iconic character who benefited from a specific glamorous blueprint. She was modeled after the known flamboyant real-life personality Jacqueline Susan. Dano had a template to follow for passion, style, and literary output. She was building on an existing mythos.
Versus the complete opposite challenge presented by Ray Cummings in her second run.
Exactly. Ray required a completely different type of genius. She demanded that Dano be the structural adhesive, the crossover queen, tasked with uniting four massive independent fictional universes: One Life to Live, All My Children, General Hospital, and Port Charles, in a way that redefined network synergy.
So her contribution wasn't just about believable acting in a single role.
It was about providing the credibility needed to make a massive, risky, industry-altering structural move successful. That breadth from creative model to structural linchpin highlights the truly incredible scope of her contribution to soap opera history.
A phenomenal career that transcended the screen and became a lasting force in business and advocacy. A truly fascinating deep dive into a daytime icon.
It was a privilege to unpack the sources on such a versatile star.
Thank you for joining us for this dive. Please remember to like, subscribe, and comment and ask, what classic soap star should we dive into next time?